just ask you, leading up to your first council meeting, which was the 2nd of February of that year, did you attend any induction?
Yes, we had 2 full days down at the Councillor Powerhouse.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember what topics were covered during the induction?
The community strategic plan, introduction of some of the directors. One other day was the code of conduct and the code of meeting practice.
And at that time, the CEO of the council was Dr. Eddie Jackson?
That's correct.
Before your election in December, had you had many dealings with Dr. Jackson?
I had not met him until when with the taking the oath, and then again very brief conversations at the induction.
In the lead up to the meeting of the 2nd of February 2022, did you have any knowledge that you may be considering at that meeting the termination of Dr. Jackson's employment?
Not that I can recollect.
Excuse me for a minute. Excuse me for a minute. I'll bring up the minutes of the meeting held on the 2nd of February 2022. Would you bring up, please, INQ.001.001.0953, and it can be live streamed. That's the first page, Dr. Green, of the minutes of that meeting. I want to take you through to page 55, but just before we go there, you can see that there were a number of other notices of motion, other reports, etc., that were dealt with before we get to a particular mayoral minute dealing with Dr. Jackson.
We might just scroll down
Yes.
on the screen so the councillor can see the order of, well, these are the minutes. So
Yeah, I haven't. But is that your recollection?
Yes, actually I was on live stream as I had contracted COVID for the first time. First meeting, then COVID.
And if we just very kind of quickly stream through, you can see lots of other work being done. Oh.
and then to 55.
55, please. And if I can tell you, this topic and an associated matter were the final matters dealt with at that meeting. So you've got this mayoral minute, which is designated Mayor 05. And then if we jump to page 56, you'll see Mayor 06, another mayoral minute, dealing with the appointment of an acting CEO. And then that continues on page 57. And then on page 58, meeting being closed at 11:06 p.m. So this matter would appear to have arisen at the end of the meeting.
It did.
Can we go back to 55, please? And you can see this mayoral minute, it's entitled, or the subject is personnel matter, but in the substance of the mayoral minute, after acknowledging the contributions and capabilities of the CEO, paragraph 3, terminate his contract from the 11th of February 2022 under section 10.3.5 of the employment contract. Probably should be clause. Your understanding of that provision in the contract is where you, the council can terminate the employment without cause.
I probably at that time, the first meeting and first councillor was not aware of that particular condition. I do recall in speaking against it, saying that I had nothing before me to indicate as to why I didn't quite understand.
Why there was a need to terminate Dr. Jackson's employment.
Why I was being asked to when I didn't have anything to say why.
And just if we can see the bottom of the page, the motion, there are, you can see the people who voted in favour of the motion and voting against, your name is the first name.
Yes.
Now, I asked you previously whether you had any knowledge that this mayoral minute was going to be raised or at the meeting seeking the termination of the CEO's employment, and you said no. When this minute was, the minute with the resolution during the meeting, is it at this point for the first time it's either put on the screen and you receive notification of it?
I think from my recollection, there'd been a rumour that that may occur, but as that I'm at home, I don't know. And then the mayoral minute came up.
Now, do you often take a note or a file note of meetings or events that have occurred where you're there as in your role as a councillor?
Not as an ongoing practice.
Does it depend on what?
Might depend on what it was, or maybe how I may have been feeling at the end of a meeting or an interchange.
After this meeting, in particular, the mayoral minute to terminate the CEO's employment, did you make a note about it?
I didn't make a note, but I was aware at the time. I found it all a bit shocking.
Right. Could document INQ.004.001.0002 be brought up? Yes, please. You're looking at that document?
Yep. I'm not sure whether that is actually mine.
Right. Okay, have a read of it, just another look at it.
It's a fair reflection of
Okay.
particularly the process.
Could I just take you through steps?
Sorry,
Looking at the document, were you the author of the document?
I don't believe I was.
Has somebody, has this been provided to you subsequently?
No.
Right. Having a look at the document, you can see that it sets out an account of what happened at that part of the meeting dealing with the mayoral minute. Reading it, I think you just said, reading it, it's a fair recollection, or it accords with your recollection of what occurred at the meeting.
I remember receiving the papers via photograph and being told that they had to be deleted at the conclusion of the meeting.
And when you say the papers, they were the actual mayoral minute or the actual resolution?
I can't recall exactly what the papers were, but I do recall receiving the photograph and then being requested that I had to delete them at the conclusion of the meeting.
If that can be brought down, you voted against the motion. Why did you vote against it?
My recollection is that it felt shocking, and how could I vote to terminate somebody that I didn't really know, I hadn't worked with? Yes, it's.
All right. I want to take you then, jumping round to another termination of a chief executive officer. If you can just excuse me for a minute. Now, this was dealing with the termination of employment of Mr. Ajaka. You'll recall that in April of last year, at the April meeting of the council, there was a resolution that he go on leave for a period to allow an investigation to be undertaken about a certain meeting or incident that involved primarily him and the mayor.
Yes.
Were you, and to your knowledge, an outside organisation called WEA were engaged to conduct the investigation?
Yes, as I understand it.
You weren't interviewed as part of that investigation?
No, I was not.
Then we come to May meeting held on the 29th of May. Excuse me for a minute. If we could bring up the minutes of that meeting, INQ.001.001.1105. Page 51. Oh, sorry, just to establish, you can see on the first page, these are the minutes.
Yep.
And if we go through to page 51. Yes, please. Now, this is a mayoral minute, subject staffing matter, and you can see the recommendation there that subject to a different clause of the employment contract, the council terminate the employment of Jean Jacques as CEO without notice and with immediate effect. And that Mr. Breton continues as the acting chief executive officer.
Yes.
Now, looking at the minute, under council decision, the motion was declared carried and it records who voted and who voted against it. And you voted against it.
Yes, I did.
And then immediately underneath that, there's a motion of dissent moved by Councillor Caliander, but seconded by you.
Yes.
And that was that a decision should not be made until the current investigation findings are available, and that the mayor should not be using a casting vote for this matter. And if we can go over to the next page, page 52. It records the vote for the dissent, and that includes you and obviously Councillor Caliander, then the vote against, and that motion was declared lost.
That's correct.
And then if we can jump back to the bottom of page 51. The first part of the motion of dissent, a decision should not be made until the current investigation findings are available. Is that a reference to your understanding that the Weir group or company were undertaking an investigation which had not finally reported by then?
Yes, that's correct.
Did you know that there was an interim report provided about 1 or 2 days before this meeting by the Weir group?
Not that I am aware of.
So the basis of this was we've engaged an outside organisation who are conducting an investigation. Let's wait to see what they see.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
And then the second aspect of it, the mayor should not be using a casting vote for this matter. Why did you move the motion of dissent with that recommendation in it?
I think from our perspective, the mayor was a party to the initial conflict between himself and Mr. Ajaka, and therefore, should not have used a casting vote or the vote to terminate be successful.
So because he appeared to be integrally involved in the factual matters,
Yes.
which were forming the basis of the resolution.
Correct.
Terminating. Excuse me for a minute. This debate is held in a closed session at
Yes.
council.
Yes, it was.
Could we bring up, please, OLG.001.001.1061? Yes, please. I'll just take you through so you can remember the document as a whole, but it's headed mayoral minute. The first section is moving into the closed session. It then refers to the 24th of April resolution, which I briefly mentioned to you.
Yes.
And which in substance was that Mr. Ajaka go on leave while the investigation takes place.
Yes.
And then, if we can stop there. Upon consideration as a whole, it's appropriate that Mr. Ajaka be dismissed. His contract of employment enables that to occur for various reasons. And if we go to the next page, it's the council writes to Mr. Ajaka informing him of the council's decision and issues him with the attached letter. And then you can see on page 3, it commences with attachment A proposed letter being sent to Mr. Ajaka entitled termination of contract.
Yes.
Now, the documents that I've just taken you to, so that mayoral minute and this attachment, is it your recollection that these documents were provided in some way to the councillors at this meeting in the closed session?
I believe so.
Right. The letter, if you have a look, if we can move a little bit down that document, you can see it's got council has given consideration to several instances of unsatisfactory conduct on your part. And then there are several dot points which look at conduct after the meeting of the 16th of April. So you can see a dot point on the 22nd of April, you met with representatives of the USU. The USU made certain allegations. And if we then go to page 4, at the top, you failed to correct misstatements that were made on a radio program, etc.
Yes.
Now, the various matters raised in this letter, which seek to justify the termination of Mr. Ajaka's employment, were you given notice of those before the meeting, or is that the first time you saw the basis of terminating his contract with cause, so summarily dismissed, was when you received this?
My recollection is we saw them on the day of the meeting, not before.
Not before. So
Not
when
before.
you're sitting there in the chamber in closed session and you get this.
Yes.
Were you aware that the issue might come up before the meeting started?
I think we were aware that the issue would come up following the timeline, because there were 3 meetings within that led to, there were 2 previous ones to this meeting. So there were 3 meetings.
Sorry, can I just clarify, council meetings or?
Confidential. It gets a bit blurry because it was a very traumatic time as well. But I think it was clear that we were moving towards termination, but we did not know what the reasons would be given. No.
All right. So I appreciate it was things when you just said lots of things were happening, but your recollection today is you had an idea that this issue might come up during the meeting on the 29th of May before the meeting started. Have I understood you correctly? And if you don't remember one way or the other, just say so.
It's
okay.
difficult to remember, but I guess those kind of finer details.
Yes.
Because it was a very stressful time.
But around this time, that is through April or through May, you were aware that the
Yeah.
issue of the then CEO's employment was
Yes.
live, if I can put it that way.
Yes.
To your knowledge, had those various allegations been put to Mr. Ajaka and Mr. Ajaka accorded an opportunity to respond?
My understanding was no.
You voted against the motion.
I did.
Why did you vote against it?
At that point, I don't think we had still received the Weir report. It was a pretty robust meeting, as those allegations were put to us on the floor. So I think the whole process just didn't. It wasn't about the process didn't afford natural justice or due process to Mr. Ajaka.
Excuse me for a minute. As part of the agenda book for that meeting, had you also proposed a notice of motion dealing more broadly with the turnover of chief executive officers at Liverpool City Council?
Yes, I did.
Would document INQ.001.001.1083 be brought up, please? Yes, please. You can see that's the agenda booklet for the 29th of May. And if we can go through to page 488. And can you see there's notice of motion number 1, addressing contributory factors to high turnover of CEO. And then under background, recognising that strong and stable operational leadership is an important factor in ensuring that council continues to deliver high-level service to the community, I propose the following motion.
Yes.
And if we can just look at the motion very quickly, you're looking at engaging an external party to conduct an investigation into the turnover of the position of CEO from 2008.
Yes.
Then within paragraph 2, what the investigation should include within its terms of reference. And number 1's looking at a comparison with other councils. 2, any underlying or common facts which have caused turnover in the CEO position. And then C, any recommendations to address issues identified, whether it's recruitment, management and termination process relating to the CEO. And then you've got some time, suggested time limitations. If we move to page 489, you've got the acting chief executive officer's comments, which include that they're more kind of facilitative.
Yep.
You've got a panel of investigators. Once terms of reference are provided, we can then work out a price, etc. And then again, as I said, primarily facilitative, but with the acting chief executive officer then provides some indication of the financial implications, so that it might cost $10,000 to $25,000, which would be funded from the general fund. And just as a matter of procedure, is it your understanding that when you lodge or file a notice of motion within the requisite time, and it's included in the agenda, and it's going to involve some spending of money, that the CEO, through obviously using the staff, looks at, well, what's the cost, potential cost, and where's the money going to come from?
Yes.
All right. And then if we can then turn to the minutes, which is INQ.001.001.1105 and page 44. These are the minutes. If you go through to page 45 at the top, it contains at least paragraphs 1 and 2 of your motion, but then it has defer administration of this item until Office of Local Government concludes the current investigation and findings are presented to council, and that motion was actually carried.
Yes.
The reference to the local Office of Local Government concluding its current investigation, is that the investigation that we've referred to in the inquiry as the 430?
That's correct.
All right. And putting to one side the status of that investigation, I assume this hasn't moved on or been proceeded with.
No.
Just and just to close off a matter that I asked you about, if I can bring up the code of meeting practice, which was in existence at the time.
Yes.
INQ.001.001.1136. And it can be live streamed. We go to 3.12. It's on page 5. Got that up there?
Yes.
You can see there it says, a notice of motion for expenditure of funds on works and or services other than those already provided for in the council's current adopted operational plan must identify the source of the funding for the expenditure that's subject to the notice of motion. If the notice of motion doesn't do that, the CEO must either prepare a report on the availability of funds for implementing the motion, if adopted, for inclusion in the business papers, or by written notice sent to all councillors with the business paper, defer the consideration of the matter by council pending preparation of such a report.
Yes.
And just as a matter of procedure, the agenda that I took you to previously, where you had your
Yes.
proposed notice of motion and then the acting chief executive officer's comment with the financial implications, is it your understanding that that was the acting chief executive officer satisfying the requirements of 3.12?
Yes. A.
Yes, in the code of meeting practice in existence at that time.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Right. Okay.
The deferral of that item from the minutes seemed to have been an amendment to your original proposed motion. But was that something that you agreed to in putting the motion forward, that it should be deferred for the reasons?
It was deferred. That amendment was placed after the debate on the floor.
Yes.
Yes.
And it was an amendment you agreed with?
Yes. Yes. It made sense.
Now, also after the meeting in May, did you and two other councillors, being Councillor Hull and Councillor Caliander, send a letter to the minister?
Yes, we did.
Would document OLG.001.001.1468 be brought up, please? Oh, would you excuse me?
We'll better take it down off.
Would you just excuse me?
Yes. Yes. Don't look at me.
According to my list, I did it as the order was made as part of a bulk direction on the 10th of July. But I can't identify from my list the reason.
Just double check. Our side suspects it might be an error, but I think
All right.
junior counsel is popping out to check. Maybe if we can just proceed with it, with this document not being live streamed.
Yes. Or if
Um,
you need to go to the detail, we can come back to it. I don't want to take you off course.
all right.
Whatever's most convenient.
I did want to go to a bit of the detail. Can I park it and I'll come back,
Yeah.
hopefully?
Yeah, then you can do it in more fulsome terms.
Excuse me for a minute. Dr. Green, I'm moving to a different topic now, which is broadly the conduct of council meetings.
Right.
And some of these, the inquiry has already heard evidence about, so I might just try and shortcut it if I can. But if I have abbreviated it in such a way that you need more detail, I can take you to documents and potentially videos, etc.
Okay.
The first one I want to ask you about is the June. Do this first. The June 2024 budget meeting.
Right.
And sorry, the council meeting in June 2024, where you consider the budget for the next financial year.
Yes.
When the agenda item, which was CFD2, the adoption of basically the budget, was to be debated on the floor, do you recall that the mayor stood up and it would appear had a piece of paper and started reading out amendments that he wanted to press?
Yes, I do recall that.
I might just play a very short part of it. The inquiry has watched the kind of substantial part, but if we can bring up the video, INQ.011.001.001.0007. Can be live streamed. And if we can move first to about the 34. And if you just take it from me, that this is where the budget resolution is raised and it's the start of debate.
Yes.
Yeah, this. Oh, two. Did I say four? My apologies. Okay, CFD. Yep. Cool. And thank you. Sorry, I was remiss of me because we went straight into closed session when we went back into a break at a closed session to inform everyone that the rescission motion was lost and the original motion stands. So, okay, so CFD 02, page 864 in the purple booklet, book number 4. I would like to move the recommendation with some adjustments to it. First and foremost, a sum of $620,000 for the suburb of Austral to deliver safety measures, including temporary roundabouts, signage to the following intersections, but not limited to 4th and 5th Avenue.
Yeah. Unless you need to see it, that is, you could see that the mayor, and I think I might have said that he stood up, that was incorrect, but you can see that within the papers in front of him, he's got a piece of paper and he's now reading out these couple of changes.
Yes.
And again, without playing it all, because it goes for a little period of time, do you recall that there were a number of changes?
Yes, there were.
And if we maybe can jump to about the 47th minute.
$177 million. I think we've just cracked, was it maybe got close to $180 million now with the other couple of adjustments, not far off of it, in infrastructure. As was pointed before, less than last year, but less because it's not going into one building. This is being spread throughout the community. It's a record amount of money investment. Hopefully, we can continue to do more in the future, especially when we start getting releasing that 7-Eleven contributions, which is sitting at that $280 million mark, but which is very important that we get out there as well. But I think it's wonderful and it's good to be here, and hopefully makes all those painful budget meetings, the people delivering them were painful, but it's never good news. But it's positive that actually there is some positivity at the end of it, that after these many meetings, which we thank the staff for, and their wonderful professionalism, that we've been able to deliver this for the community. Councillor Green.
Just I'd like to make a comment. I understand that as councillors that we make collective decisions. Our decision making is as a collective. And I don't have a great deal of problem with any of the proposals that you put on as an amendment, and I certainly agree with what you said about how money should be spent back onto the community. Not a problem with that at all. What I do have a problem with, I would have appreciated, and this has happened before, that when it's with the budget and it's something about these extra spending, was it not possible to have sent like a communique to maybe councillors out, not everybody may have known about these additional expenses or investments. And I just, so that, when I'm sitting here, then I'm comfortable. I've got an attached report from the Chief Financial Officer to say, yep, this is all fine. It's within that. I recommend that you support it. It's just, I guess, what I'm saying is I want to be really comfortable and confident in my role to make informed decisions. So I would just have appreciated a bit of a heads up.
Thank you. Councillor Goodman.
Can I just add to the list?
All right, if we can pause there. I think at that point, one of the other councillors then adds to the list. And again, I'm not going to play it all, but our analysis of that part of the meeting is the issue that you raised really was never returned to.
No.
In the meeting.
No.
And from what you said, this list of additional items, there wasn't any email or any notification that the mayor was going to basically seek to amend the budget to include those.
No, there wasn't.
And your point, I won't go over it, you articulated it in that video, is I want notice because I want to do the right thing by the community, but also you said I'd be assisted by something from the Chief Financial Officer about the impact, if any, on the rest of the budget for these new expenditure.
Yes.
As I said, it doesn't seem to have been addressed at the meeting. Has it been subsequently addressed?
The issues that I raised?
Yeah, of moving through a mayoral minute, additional expenditure in that way without notice.
Not necessarily. There may be some this particular term where there has been notice of a mayoral minute going to be moved, but not in the last term, no. Not to the best of my recollection.
Okay. You said that there has been an item being moved via a mayoral minute that you were given notice about?
I think there's been a couple in this term. I can't remember exactly which ones, but ones where we have had a prior notice.
And the prior notice, was that through an email or something like that shortly before the meeting?
I think more in conversation.
Do you excuse me? Excuse me. Commissioner, I understand that the non-publication order made on the previous document was a precautionary measure. It wasn't sought by the council, but our submission would be that it could be revoked.
Did I make it at the request of council assisting as a precaution?
Yes.
Take it no one else wants to be heard, Matt? You just remind me of the doc ID.
It was OLG.001.001.1468.
All right. The direction I made on the 10th of July 2025, pursuant to Section 12B of the Royal Commissions Act, that document, being OLG.001.001.1468, not be published, is revoked.
Dr. Green, I've finished with the, I think it was the 29th of, or the June 2024 meeting. Now I'm going to jump back to that letter that you, Councillors Hull and Councillor Caliander signed. If that can be brought up, please. Yes, please. Now, if I can jump to the third paragraph, where there's a reference to, where you state over the last 3 ordinary meetings of council, it's become increasingly clear that decision-making processes are broken down and quite dysfunctional. Then in the next paragraph, there's an assertion that the mayor and a group of councillors are voting as a binding caucus, which is in contravention. Can I just pause there? Can you recall what the basis of that assertion was?
I think from memory that it seemed to be the same block all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of, as I said, some of these discussions were quite robust in the in the confidential section, but I guess that was the general feeling of the of the 3 of us that signed the document, that, and concerns about, as I said, due process and natural justice was not being served.
Okay, so with the first one, from your perspective, it appears to be your observation of voting patterns in respect of certain matters, and that as it expresses it, we believe it appears to be an inference that you may be drawing from those voting patterns.
And I think those, from my recollection, the 3 ordinary meetings that are indicated there are the 3 in relation to the termination of Mr. Ajaka.
All right. Then the second, sorry, if you can move down the page. You've got a reference to conflicts of interest are not being dealt with in a manner that reflects general conduct and fairness provisions of the code. And then a reference to the 26th of June meeting of the council, where there was mayor and some councillors voted against an urgency motion proposed to source legal and financial advice to better inform all councillors in relation to the termination of the CEO's contract, which, as we've seen, was in the mayoral minute of considered on the 29th of May. And then you say this decision denied a significant number of councillors with advice to assist in making decisions that potentially expose council and councillors to legal, financial and reputational risk, advice we consider essential to discharging our obligations to our community. One of the matters you're raising there is that potentially because of the way Mr. Ajaka's contract was terminated, it may lead to Mr. Ajaka seeking legal redress in a relevant court.
Yes.
Which may mean that the council will be up for its own legal fees if he succeeds, other payments.
An unknown.
Yes. I can understand that, but it's the beginning of the paragraph raises conflicts of interest. The point that you were making in the consideration of that motion, which appears to have failed with conflict of interest, what were you referring to?
From memory?
Yeah.
It may well have been with the mayor in his the conflict of interest, where I perceive the conflict of interest, the issue was between the mayor and Mr. Ajaka, if the mayor participated in the vote and used a casting vote. So
you've given evidence about that.
Yes. So my assumption is that section is related to that.
And then in the letter you expand on that in, we got that up there, the next paragraph, where you say on a number of occasions, councillors have highlighted the inappropriateness of the mayor not only voting in but exercising his casting vote on an issue where he is named as an aggrieved party.
Mm.
And then if we go to the next page, you say at the top, in the last 3 months during the standing down and subsequent termination of the CEO's contract, we do not feel that community interest has been placed at the heart of this, nor the CEO afforded due process.
Correct.
All right. Okay, I'll just now move to a different topic, if you can just excuse me for a minute. Excuse me. Sorry for a minute. All right. Different meeting and a different topic. To provide some context, can we bring up the minutes of the 30th of August 2023 meeting, which is INQ, excuse me, INQ.001.001.1039. Yes, please. And if we can go to page 11, please. Yes. This you can see from the minutes. This was a mayoral minute which has got a subject of the introduction of a project control committee.
Yes.
And you can see it's the actual, you've got a background at the beginning of it, which appears to be looking at the 7.11 developer contributions.
Yes.
And delays in the investment of those contributions. If we can go down that page, we've got the recommendation that a project control committee is established to provide oversight and guidance, etc. You see that?
Yes, I do.
And then if we go across to page 12, the motion continues, but I want to take you to Councillor Haggerty raised a point of order.
Yes.
And there he says, due to the complexity of the motion and the time given to consider it, the motion breaches the spirit of mayoral minutes.
Yes.
The mayor ruled that the point of order is not upheld. Councillor Haggerty then moved a motion of dissent. That was lost. And then if we go across to page 13, you can see that the motion's put as it originally was, and at page 14, it's carried.
Yes.
Now, the point of order raised by Councillor Haggerty, that it was complex and that time should be given to consider it, and it breaches the spirit of mayoral minutes. Did you share Councillor Haggerty's concern?
Yes, I did.
With this particular mayoral minute and the introduction of a project control committee, had you been given notice before the mayoral minute was presented to you in the council
I
meeting?
don't believe so.
I then want to take you to the meeting of the 13th of December, 2023, INQ.001.001.1056. Yes, please. And if we can go through to page 6. Down towards the bottom of the page, can you see motion of urgency?
Yes.
And it refers to you requesting the Mayor to consider a motion of urgency in relation to the independent third-party advice into legal status of the Project Control Committee.
Yes.
I want to play you the part of the council meeting which deals with this issue. It goes for about 20 minutes.
Okay, well, let's have a break before we do that. Councillor, we're going to take the mid-morning break for about 20 minutes. We'll resume at 10 to 12. So if you wouldn't mind being back here just before that, I'd be most grateful.
Not at all, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Dr. Green, what I will now do is play an extract from the council meeting of the 13th of December. I will play it through and at its conclusion ask you some questions.
Right.
Excuse me. INQ.069.001.0002. This is the video. INQ.069.001.0002. Could you just excuse me? Sorry? Yes, meeting. I'm sorry. Could you just read out what it is?
INQ.01001.
All right.
We'll go with that one.
Yeah. Sorry about that. And you can see there, if we can move forward to about the 22-minute point.
I'm alive.
Yes, please.
Feel free to.
On another note, I do have an urgency motion, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Councillor. What does
Given that this is the last council meeting, scheduled meeting of the year, I would like to place a motion for independent third-party legal advice into the status of the Project Control Committee. Whilst the committee was established to provide oversight and guidance on the design, planning and execution of all council infrastructure projects funded by 7-Eleven developer contributions, I think it is imperative for independent legal advice to be sought to determine and clarify a number of concerns to address any possibility that the Project Control Committee could be considered as operational in nature, context, status and further to address any potential serious risk to councillor involvement in operational decision making, particularly those decisions linked to Section 711 developer contributions. So given that the next scheduled meeting is not going to occur before February for the council meeting, I think it's imperative that the legal advice be urgently sought prior to any further meeting or convening of the project control committee, just to ensure that
So it's
all the boxes are ticked.
yeah. So what's the actual motion?
That the council direct the CEO to seek it up on the screen, to seek independent legal advice to determine the legality and legitimacy of the project committee in its charter, purpose, function and operation, to provide advice to the consistency of the project control committee with the Local Government Act of 1993 in terms of councillor role, responsibilities and function, and further that the advice should also address the issue of risk of public perception of councillor conflict of interest in councillors being actively involved in the overseeing, monitoring and or allocation in determining any project or funding subsequent allocation of Section 711 developer contribution funds.
Yeah, look, I'm happy to accept it as urgency, but can you just clarify on the point 3, just on the legality?
Yep.
So are you saying that, can we just bring that back up, please, if that's all right? So sorry, let's do it officially. So I'm happy to accept it as urgency. You have a mover. Do you have a seconder for the motion?
Yes.
Seconder, Councillor Calienda. Great. Okay. So just from a legal point of view, to ensure that we have an appropriate motion that doesn't breach anything, the risk of public perception of councillor conflict of interest in councillors being actively involved in the overseeing and monitoring allocation and termination in any project. Okay. So I just have a question about that.
Sure.
I'm happy to refer to the CEO and all that. In order for council to spend any money, right? Do you have any delegation to spend any money, or is that a decision of council?
So, short answer, Mr. Mayor, is this. Under the delegation afforded to me, I have delegation to spend certain amounts of money in certain circumstances. However, in other circumstances, it's a matter for council to be able to make that determination.
So
I'm happy to refer to General Counsel. I don't have the delegation papers in front of me, but as you recall, the delegation papers kind of do it in the reverse, where it says I'm allowed to do everything that council can do except in certain circumstances, and it mentions an amount not exceeding. General Counsel, if you want to add to that.
Can I just add a couple of points, if that's okay? So the first is, broadly speaking, the questions which Councillor Green has asked to be addressed are questions which the CEO has asked me to give some advice on. I have not yet done that. I'm in the process of preparing internal advice. So that is a consideration you might like to take into account. You could look at that advice and then consider whether you wanted further advice. Secondly, I can obtain an estimate on how much that advice would cost. Depending upon the amount, it may be possible to accommodate it within the budget that I manage in terms of external legal support.
Do you want to speak for your motion? Because I'm just going to pull something up by Councillor Green. Feel free to go for it.
I thought that I had, but I guess it's something that I have not been comfortable with for quite some time. And at the recent Local Government New South Wales conference, I posed the model and question to several other councillors, and some were mayors, and asked them would they go to that particular meeting, and that was all in the negative. So that raised further discomfort for me. You know, I can only say that for me to attend that meeting, I need to be assured that it is that it is legal, that it is consistent with my councillor role, responsibilities and functions, that I'm not being asked to step outside those, but more so for public perception, you know, to have that very clear that, you know, that if it's in the other way that no, it's all fine, well then I'll make that argument to people and provide that answer if that is so. At the moment, I am unable to do that. Which is I guess, a key reason that I would feel much more comfortable in being able to know very clearly that the project control committee is a legitimate and legal activity for, and it's not operational, that councillors can be involved in.
So I just got to point something out there. So in you asking that, you are implying that the council, in establishing the committee, has acted outside of the act,
No,
because they're not able to establish
I'm not implying
things that are legal.
I'm not implying that. I guess what I'm asking for, the independent legal advice would clarify that and make it really clear as to that everything's okay, or if there's something that needs to be tweaked or changed for that committee to function or to be disbanded. One of the two. That's what the legal advice would be for, just to make sure. But I'm not casting any aspersion or implying that there, you know, that you know, that it's not kosher. I'm just saying, for me, I don't feel comfortable, and I would prefer to have be able to stand on solid legal ground that everything's okay.
Yeah. So I think there's actually happy to get the advice. Yeah. More than happy to, but Council, I just need you to be mindful, and everyone, of some of the basic reading that we all should do, which is the Act. So under Section 377, Council has issues things they can delegate. What they cannot delegate is, and I'll quote it exact, the voting of money for expenditure on its works, services, or operations. So whilst the CEO does have delegation to approve tenders up to a certain amount, which is what it's referring to, he can only spend once we have allocated the money as part of our budgeting process. So contributions is part of that. The CEO cannot say, I want to go out there and build a bridge or build a road without council resolving to do that in the first instance. So I think to say, when you're looking at that part of it, like, it's blatantly clear in Section 377 what our role is. And I think I'm concerned that if councils haven't grasped that. Now, the question is, how would you like to go about doing that? Are you happy just to get once a year a document that fat that has all the projects on it? Or do we turn around and use the expenditure of the contributions? We've come across an issue at the moment. If you look at Austral, Councillor, there's $80 million sitting in contributions for Austral that have not been expended, you know, and that's concerning for the community, because that's the community's park. A lot of councils don't have money for parks. We have the money. It just hasn't been spent. So just before I go to you, the Deputy Mayor has a hand up, and I'll give you the right to reply in a moment. Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to suggest that, considering we've just heard from our own legal counsel that he is preparing a response to this kind of information, maybe we wait to get that information before we allocate funding to further information, before we know what the initial information is coming from our own legal counsel, whose direction we listen to before we, you know, make decisions. That was my only query, that we could get that information in the break. It doesn't need to wait till the first meeting. Are you saying, Deputy Mayor, rather than get external advice, just get from the internal, from our General Counsel? I understood from what General Counsel said before that he had already been asked to make a response to these queries, but hadn't done so yet. So I'm asking that we wait until we get that response, and that can come in the form of an email. It doesn't need to come at a meeting, and then we can move forward based on what we hear there, rather than spending funds before we know we need to. Yeah. So, Councillor Green, can I ask you, are you happy with getting it just from internally, or do you want from our own General Counsel, or do you want it from an external?
I'm happy to wait for our own General Counsel. Yep. That's the majority. I'm wondering when, you know, this is now the 13th of December, so we're not going to hear back until the end of January, and not until, I guess, the first meeting in February for the council meeting, I imagine.
Can I ask the CEO when would the general council have some advice back to council if it was done internally?
I think that's a question we should ask the General Counsel, in fairness with but in doing that, General Counsel, take in mind that we would need the advice before the next committee meeting, so that if there is any specific, to quote the councillor's words, of tweaking, we can ensure that happens before.
So when I last inquired about the date of the next meeting, there wasn't one. There may have been one scheduled since, but I was targeting the 19th of January.
Yep. So you'd have advice to us, to the CEO, by around, you're aiming to have it around that 19th of January time?
Yes.
Yep, great. Are you happy with that with Councillor Green? Great.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
You can stop it now. If we can just go back to INQ.001.001.1056, page 7. You can see that I think after that discussion at the meeting, if we go a little bit down on that page, under council decision, your resolution was changed to seek legal advice from the General Counsel.
Yes.
But it's still seeking that advice about the legality and legitimacy of the project committee,
Yes.
etc. And then the rest of your original recommendation seems to have been included.
Yes.
And ultimately that was put to the motion, to the meeting, and was carried.
Yes.
Right. And can I just clarify, at the commencement, it was described as an urgent motion. Does that mean that you hadn't given notice of it? Or in a sense, you were moving it at the council meeting?
I was moving it at the council meeting. I had spoken to the CEO in expressing my concerns, and the advice was to prepare it as an urgency motion, so that, because the next meeting wasn't until February, so that whatever legal advice was required would be received before the beginning of that meeting.
Right. I just want to ask you some questions about the way that the meeting was conducted, considering your urgency motion. Different people spoke. So, for example, the CEO, the General Counsel, and also Ms. McDonald. But from watching the extract of the video, the main people speaking were you and the Mayor?
Correct.
The tone of some of the comments made by the Mayor during the discussion, do you have any observation to make about his tone?
I felt at the time, my recollection, I felt at the time when it was reframed as that I was implying that the council had done something illegal, that reframe wasn't reflective of what I had put.
Mm-hmm.
That I wasn't talking about council, I was talking about the the committee and that my concerns.
All right, but you're pointing to the assertions that you are implying the council has acted outside of the Act, and that he also said that you should be mindful of some of the basic reading that we should all do of the Act,
Yes.
and also commented that Section 377 makes it blatantly clear what councillors' role is, and concerned that councillors haven't grasped that.
Yes.
Do you have any observation to make about those particular comments that the Mayor made?
I think on the day I recollect, I just, I took it as a bit of a barb.
His involvement in the debate, he was the chair at that point. Do you have any comment about his involvement while still being the chair?
I guess, I mean, I understood clearly the issues of Austral, for example, whether that conversation should have been part of the debate. Probably not.
Well, that really moved to an issue of substance, which your motion was looking more at, in a sense, a procedural or a facilitative matter where you wanted clarification of whether you could participate in some way in this committee next year.
Yes. My central concern in attending the two committee meetings, I'm sure that there were just the two, it felt operational, and I was not comfortable in being involved in what I felt and at the time believed were operational matters.
I now want to take you to another council meeting of the 7th of February 2024. If we could bring up the council agenda, being INQ.001.001.1057. Yes, please. You can see that's the front page of the agenda. And could we move through to now, this is included in the agenda book. So it has been provided within at least the requisite time for inclusion in the agenda book.
Yes.
And you can see that this is a motion seeking the rescission of a previous resolution dealing with the Hammerville precinct, which was considered by the council on the 13th of December 2023.
Yes.
And we can see there that the notice of motion of rescission was submitted by yourself, Councillor Caliander and Councillor Hull.
Correct.
And then if we just look at towards the bottom of the page, it refers to the resolution that was passed on the 13th of December, and in particular, in paragraph 1, the agreement to sell lots 102 101 and 102 to Moorbank Sports Club.
Yes, that's correct.
And then if we go, so step number 1 is your notice of motion is to rescind that previous resolution of council.
Yes.
And then if we go across to page 50, if the rescission motion is passed, you then indicate that there would be a following motion, which under paragraph 2 defers the proposed sale,
Yes.
and then in 3 undertakes extensive community consultation, and then a suggestion of how the consultation can occur.
Yes.
And was it your concern in bringing forward the motion of rescission that in respect of the sale of those 2 lots to the sports club, there hadn't been adequate public discussion or consultation about it?
Correct.
Right. Now, this motion was debated at the meeting. I want to take you to just certain extracts. I'm not going to play it all because it is lengthy.
Is
But you can see it's NOMR number 1. So if you could first bring up video INQ.069.001.0003. Now, I'm not going to play from the beginning of where the motion is first discussed, but you move it, it's seconded by Councillor Hull, and then debate continues.
yes.
If we could go to about 58 minutes, say 40 seconds. Yes, please.
I just want to make sure, Councillor Green, you asked the question, did you want to speak for your rescission motion?
I think basically that the consultation with the community was integral to the rescission motion in light of the feedback that I have received and other councils have received, where residents were very upset about a council decision to sell land before consultation was done. Usually, in my experience with consultation, you have a proposal which you take to the community, conduct the consultation, and then look at how that then informs the decision. You take community with you. In this instance, and the way that the original motion was put before council, it communicated or we gave the perception that the sale of the land was going through, and then we would consult with residents, and that was the point that people were very, very unhappy with.
Right. Thank you. I'll get to you in a moment, Councillor Hadid. Just a procedural matter. So, Councillor, should the rescission motion succeed? So I know there are a lot. It's been brought to my attention that there are very similarities, because your motion is talking for the original motion talks about community consultation. Your motion is also talking for community consultation. And I remember at the last council meeting, we removed the word execute from the contract, so that's from the motion. Therefore, the motion had to come back to council after hearing the family. But under section 10.9 of the Code of Meeting Practice, a motion or an amendment to that requires the expenditure of funds must identify the funding source. So I'm just wondering, and just with regards to your motion, if I can just have it be brought up there. So can I just get some clarification? Because number one, it doesn't identify a funding source. When you say direct mail to the residents across the Liverpool LGA, do you mean all the residents of Liverpool LGA or just a section of them?
I think because we're talking about public land and ratepayer, that's the council's land, ratepayers' land. We're talking about all ratepayers. That the consultation, as I have experienced it on this matter, was confined to one particular area. I think that's the other issue that people have brought up, is that it should not, that the consultation needs to be much broader. I would be interested to hear what the ideas of consultation are in terms of what is proposed over the next 3 weeks. If we can capture as many that a much broader field than just within the Hammondville or Wattle Grove area, then that if there's a wider promotion of the issue and of what is actually being put before council, then that may satisfy that we have conducted a robust consultation process.
So can you, just for the purpose of this motion, and so there's no ambiguity, can you define, is there a certain list of suburbs, or once again, is it the whole Liverpool LGA?
I think I was raising the concern there that the consultation that had occurred was only in 2 very specific contexts. That it needed to be much broader than that. In terms of
I get that.
Yep. Okay. Well,
so I guess for the purpose of the motion, because what we need to do is work out the amount of money required to do the consultation, which sure, as the original motion, everyone's happy to do consultation. But if you want it broader, where do you stop? Do you go to Chipping Norton? Do you go to Hoxton Park? Do you go to Austral?
If we can
do you go to Greendale?
A broader social media promotion across the community
let me bring it specifically. So you say direct mail. So just with regards to direct mail, how that has to go into letterboxes, being direct mail. Social media is a different thing. That's the next point, because I just under the code of meeting practice, we do have to get ourselves a number on this. So when you say direct mail, do you have a list of suburbs, or do you want every suburb or suburbs within X amount of kilometers? The stuff we just need a way to work it out.
I understand that.
Sorry, can you turn on your microphone, please?
Sorry. I understand that. If we're adopting a much broader consultation period and scope of promotion, if it's okay with my co-signees, I'd be happy to withdraw direct mail out from the rescission motion.
It's fine.
Dr. Green, after that particular point, there is further issues or questions being raised by the mayor about suburbs, etc. And then that continues for about another 5 minutes. And then if we could jump to about 1 hour, 7 minutes and say 56 seconds.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Well, look, there's an easy way to do that.
Mr. Mayor, can I just ask one thing?
Yep.
We're going out like over and above, I believe, because now.
That's right, Councillor, I have to cut you off there because I need to make sure I'm just dealing with the procedural side without actually discussing the merits of the motion. So I just need to procedurally get this right in the first instance. So my point, I know Councillor Hadid has been waiting very patiently. So if you were just from a rough zone, if you want to do South Ward, there's 260,000 residents. There's around, I think, roughly 80,000 dwellings in the LGA. They should be split evenly. So if you then assumed 40,000 dwellings, Chipping Norton has around 3,500 dwellings, roughly, from my recollection. So if you were to say around between 40 to 45,000, and just for the purpose of expenditure, we got to work that out. So 45,000 dwellings. Now you're saying you want it addressed to the rate payer, the person paying the rates of that dwelling?
Yes.
So to the rate payer. So if you're renting then, because there's a lot of rate pay, there's, I think 30% of Liverpool, I forget the number actually off the top of my head, but 30% rings a bell of people renting or owning, I forget exactly. So I'm just concerned then if you then send a letter, like I'm renting, so I wouldn't get it, for example, in Preston's.
Could we jump then, is it recollection that the mayor continues with this raising number of people, costs, etc.?
Yes.
Could we go to 1 hour, 12 minutes and about 32 seconds?
To make the motion valid.
That's fine. I
Okay.
just had that on the public record that the intent and the spirit of the rescission motion is purely to ensure that
So
people had the opportunity to be consulted, that at none of the consultations that I was present at was the idea of selling council land part of the proposal. Now we can dance around at all sorts of. Let me clarify it, but at the end of the day.
Sorry, excuse me, Councillor.
Look,
I'm referring. I have to refer you to the section of the Code of Meeting Practice, which I stated before. We now need to identify the funding source for $80,000. So if you are referring to what we've just done as a dancing around exercise, I would take offence to that. But I'm not going to assume that you did that.
No, I'm not saying. But I mean, I've sat here in this chamber and have had many motions that have been put forward that have not been attached to any funding source as well. So I'm just saying that it's interesting that in a way this is being treated a little differently the way that.
Then could we move down to and then there's further discussions about funding sources.
Yes.
Then if we could go to 1 hour, 15 minutes at about 48 seconds.
Identifies the source.
Great.
Yes.
Done. That's all I needed. Thank you. But can I just ask in future, Mr. CEO, that if you've had this motion, I imagine this was received a couple of weeks ago. Can I ask that this exercise gets done with the councillors and provide them with the support required so we don't have to go through this process on the floor of council, because there's been a lot of discussion regarding this matter, especially in the public domain. And as Councillor Green has noted, the consultation is very important, but it's important that a proper motion, when it's put onto the agenda, is legal under section 10.9 of the Code of Meeting Practice.
Just the 22nd of December.
So it was lodged 22nd December.
The 22nd of December, it was lodged several weeks ago, not just a couple of weeks.
Right. Stop it there. The debate continues, and I'm not going to take you to all of the debate or further matters that were raised. Just with the result of your notice of motion, if we can jump back to the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 7th of February 2024, INQ.001.001.1059. if we now jump through to page, I think it's 15. This just repeats the rescission motion and then the follow-up motion if the rescission motion was passed.
Yes.
It then says, councillors debated the proposed motion should the rescission motion be adopted as it did not state a funding source. And then it would appear that the subsequent motion was then amended.
Yes.
And then ultimately we've got the result on the next page, page 16. Right at the top, the rescission motion was declared lost.
Yes.
And it records who voted for it, which included yourself, and then who voted against it.
Yes.
What I'm concentrating on is really the meeting and the meeting procedure. First thing to raise is it appears from the excerpts that we have played, ultimately the provisions of, or the clause 3.12 of the Code of Meeting Practice, which I took you to earlier today, which provides that the CEO should turn his or her mind to notices of motion and either prepare a report as to funding, or if that can't be done, defer it.
Yes.
And I assume from the papers and the way that the debate continued, that had not been done with your proposed rescission and further motion?
No, it had not.
And as you said, this is a February meeting. You had, do you lodge proposed notices of motion?
Yes, on the 22nd of December.
Right, so the year, towards the end of the year before.
Yes.
Moving away from the content of it, again, do you have any observations of, with the excerpts that we have played, the role of the mayor in the meeting?
I remember I felt, and when I rewatch it, I feel the same, rather humiliated, and I was schooled in the process, I guess is how I would describe it.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite uncomfortable.
After the meeting, and this part of the council meeting was live streamed?
Yes, it was.
You weren't in closed session or anything like
No,
that?
we did not.
Did you have any comments made to you by any constituents?
I did have comments made to me by constituents who had watched that. Was I okay? And I also had comments from some directors and staff for up to a week and a half after. Was I okay?
Excuse me for a minute. Now, still with meetings, I now want to move to another meeting which occurred next year on the 20th of February 2025, not a council meeting, but a CEO recruitment meeting.
Right.
Now, you'll recall that Mr. Ajaka's employment was terminated back, I think, in May the year before.
Yes.
And Mr. Breton was appointed the acting CEO.
Yes.
Obviously, there is a need to appoint a permanent CEO, and part of that is a recruitment process.
Yes.
Now, originally, was it proposed that the recruitment panel would not consist of a selection of councillors, but all of the governing body?
Yes, it was.
And the meeting on the 20th of February, that occurred in the boardroom at the council's chambers?
Yes, it did.
And was at the time where the recruitment panel was going to be all of you?
Yes.
Right. Now, at the meeting, is it your recollection that all councillors were present except for Councillor Adjei?
I don't recollect. I'm not quite sure.
Okay. And also at the beginning of this meeting, there were the outside recruitment agency that had been
Yes.
engaged by the council, who I think was Oceans Group.
Correct.
And about 2 of their representatives.
Yes.
And maybe also a representative of the probity advisor from Procure Group.
Yes. Yes.
Right. Now, to again move through this, because this leads up to other matters.
Yep.
After that particular meeting, were you contacted by Michelle McAvini with a general question of how you were or how you were feeling after that meeting?
Yes, I was.
If I can bring up, please, LCC.003.001.0082, please. Don't put it on the live stream for the minute. Could you just explain? I think, my learned friend, even though in its terms it doesn't refer to a code of conduct complaint, it raises particular conduct which is subject.
All right, and you're going to the detail?
Yes.
Right. Can everybody who's in the room remain? Yes. All right. Pursuant to Section 12B of the Royal Commissions Act, I direct that the next passage of the hearing take place in private, that those who are currently in the hearing room can remain in the hearing room. I further direct that the transcript of this private hearing not be published otherwise than in accordance with the usual direction. And we'll just wait for
continuing the meeting after the recess, there was a recession motion.
Yes.
And then if we go across the page to page 25, recession motion was declared lost.
Yes.
And then if you can note, after that, they still record that the mayor isn't in the chamber, I'm sorry. And then we've got Councillor McNaught left the chambers, Councillor Amoon, Councillor Hart and Councillor Adjei also left the chambers, then a brief recess and the resumption of the meeting.
Yes,
And you had a quorum for the meeting and it continued.
yes.
Is that an appropriate time?
Yes. Councillor, we're going to break for lunch. We'll resume at 2 p.m.
Right.
So if you wouldn't mind being back here just before then,
Thank you,
we'll
Commissioner.
continue then. Thank you. 2 p.m.
The meeting of the 26th of February,
Yes.
that a report and a resolution had been put forward about the attendance of the mayor and another staff member to this conference in Hong Kong.
Yes.
And then I took you to, in the minutes, that motion was lost. There was a motion to move into a closed session that was lost. There was a foreshadowed motion, which I think ultimately was amended and was passed. And then other councillors leaving the meeting and the meeting resuming.
Correct.
If you need to see it, we do have the video and I can play it for you, but I think the rest of us have watched it on at least 2 occasions. What I wanted to concentrate on was where you had the motion being, the original motion being lost, and then the foreshadowed motion being put forward, and then the mayor seeking for the motion, the meeting to go into closed session. And my recollection is that he refers to section 10 capital A 2F of the Act.
Yes.
And then I think subsequently refers to that section and describes it in terms of it concerns the security of council, councillors and staff. The motion to move into a closed session is lost, and then the mayor stands up and leaves the meeting.
Yes.
Sitting there, going back to that meeting, you're sitting there, you're a councillor. The reference to, I move that the meeting goes into closed session, and what was said about why. Did you understand the basis of the mayor seeking to move into closed session?
Not entirely, no.
Right. Had that been anything discussed, or the prospect or potential of that discussed before the meeting?
Not to my recollection.
And your answer that you just gave was that, I think it was along the lines, I didn't make a note, sorry, not entirely aware. What was going through your mind? What were you thinking at that time as to what was going on and why it was going on?
I didn't quite understand what was happening. I was feeling a little overwhelmed in relation to the foreshadowed motion. I felt that that was unnecessary, and the debate around that, I was emotionally caught up in what was going on in that section of the meeting.
And when you said the foreshadowed motion wasn't necessary, was that the first version of the foreshadowed motion?
Yes.
Because from evidence we've heard, and I think from the minutes, it would appear that the original foreshadowed motion was then subsequently amended.
Yes.
And I think it was amended so the last part of it became, in a sense, rather bland. If any other councillor wants to attend this conference, they can, but they pay for it themselves.
Correct.
You'll recall that there's the mayor leaves, there's further debate and discussion, and then, excuse me, after the mayor has left, a question is raised by Councillor Hart to the deputy mayor, who's now the chair, along the lines of, is the reason why the mayor has stepped out relating to a WH&S issue? And Councillor Hart replies, and that's why we wanted to go into a confidential. And then there's further I'm sorry, Councillor Hart asks a question, Councillor Hull replies, that's why we wanted to go into a confidential session. Then there's further discussion, including Councillor Knib saying the way the foreshadowed motion would need to be amended would not require a confidential session because no one will be specifically named and capital 10A2F would not be engaged. Do you recall that exchange?
Vaguely.
All
Vaguely.
right. And then it gets to the point where I think the amended foreshadowed motion is voted upon. There's then a recess, the meeting resumes, and there's a rescission motion put forward.
Yes.
Which then is defeated.
Yes.
And at that point, not at the same time, but after each other in a relatively short period, the councillors who represent the Liberal Party leave the chambers.
Yes.
Again, during this subsequent debate after the mayor has left, work health and safety seems to be or is raised by Councillor Hart, and then Councillor Knib makes his comment about, look, the way that the foreshadowed motion has been amended, there's no need. Did you agree with that comment by Councillor Knib and the way that the meeting progressed?
I thought at the time that the fact that it had been amended to take out any specific name, that it was a reasonable compromise.
Mm-hmm. And the reasonable compromise, I think, is you've given evidence was the bland, any councillor wants to go, sure, pay for yourself.
Yep.
Did you understand why, after all that occurred and then the rescission motion failed, did you understand why the other councillors then left the chamber?
Not fully.
At the time?
At the time, it had, was like, I'm not sure what was going on.
Right. And then, as I think I've asked you before lunch, there was still a quorum with the meeting and the meeting continued.
Yes.
And just by looking at the minutes, reports, resolutions were made and business was productively conducted during the rest of the meeting.
Yes.
Excuse me for a minute. Now, excuse me. That evening at about 8:39 p.m., did you receive an email from the mayor?
Yes, I did.
Could you please bring up INQ.013.001.0029? This email, yes. And you can see this email commences with, I write to inform you of a serious matter regarding work health and safety.
Yes.
Then there's a reference to the 20th of February and the behaviour of a councillor.
Yes.
Then a reference to lodging an incident report and to safe work.
Yes.
Did you know before the meeting of the 26th that the mayor had lodged an incident report?
No.
Or that had in some way been referred to safe work?
No, I did not.
And then he says, this is a matter which I was going to bring up in the closed session. You voted against this very important request to go into closed session and did not allow me even to explain what the security issue was. And then he then refers to a senior council advice circulated by the CEO at the governance meeting the day before.
Yes.
Do you recall that dealing, and I'm just asking you broadly, as it says here, dealing with obligations of members of the governing body under work health and safety legislation?
I can't say that I don't have a recollection of receiving it. That doesn't mean that I didn't. I just don't recall it.
Don't recall.
I'm
today.
sorry.
Right. And then he also attaches a Facebook post which isn't part of this document, where he alleges a councillor threatened him with physical harm.
Yes.
All right. So, excuse me for a minute. Now, on the 27th of February, did you receive some other emails from the mayor?
Yes, I did.
Excuse me for a minute. If you could bring up, please, INQ.008.001.0019. Just pause for a sec, please. Before a decision to live stream, the copy of the document I have doesn't have any other attachment. Could we just check? It's INQ 008.001.0019. Right. Sorry, the one that,
Can we bring it up in the room
yes.
without putting it on the screen?
That can be live streamed. And can you see that was an email that Ned Manoon sent on the 27th, but very early in the morning?
Yes, I do.
He refers to the mayoral minute that was passed yesterday and then says, please see attached to social media post by a councillor.
Yes.
The mayoral minute, was that a mayoral minute dealing with social media policy of the council?
No, I imagine that it is referring to the meeting of the 26th.
Oh, no, sorry. He's referring to a mayoral minute that was passed yesterday. So
I
passed,
can't recall.
you can't recall. Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. Then it says it would be appreciated if you could issue a clarifying statement in public about what actually happened. And then he intends to send every post. And you can see there that makes comments
Yes.
about me.
Yes.
All right. And then do these emails continue in the early morning, including INQ.008.001.0002? Yes, please, and live streamed. And you can see this is at 1:04 a.m.
Yes.
There is an attachment which isn't part of this document, but his comments on the post are attached. And then just to end this part, also at about 1:16 in the morning, you receive a similar email from the mayor.
Yes.
Basically saying this is another post from X, from
Yes.
the councillor.
Yes.
Okay. Look, sorry, I think, yes. Just excuse me for a minute. Just for the transcript, that was INQ.008.001.0004. Then the statement or raising of, I think it was in the 12:59 a.m. I would appreciate if you could issue a clarifying statement in public about what actually happened. Did you consider that, or did you do it, or?
No.
And why not?
I don't recall at the time why not. We just didn't.
Right. Also on, I think it's on, excuse me. the 26th, there was a post by Councillor McDonald.
Yes, I recall that.
Could we bring up for a sec? Excuse me. This. Could document INQ.010.001.0001 be brought up, please? Yes, please. And I think in page 2, and then, sorry, I think it's repeated then on page 3. She says, last night I left the council meeting early. It became clear the environment was not safe. Then the paragraph, it makes matters worse when those actions are supported by others who stay silent rather than fulfil their obligations under numerous pieces of legislation we are bound by. To be clear, councillors have a WHS responsibility to staff. Yesterday, those councillors voted against hearing about and discussing safety concerns, even though they'd witnessed this behaviour previously. This concerned me, and that's why I left. You saw that post?
Yes, I did.
And did you contact the acting CEO about it?
Yes, I did.
Could document LCC.003.002.0716 be brought up? And don't bring it up yet. I think there's just got to be some double checking, but maybe if it can just be brought up in the room, please. This is your letter to Mr. Breton on February the 28th.
Yes, it is.
You start off by referring to the emails councillors have received from the mayor, and they were the ones that I took you to.
Yes.
You refer to in the body of the email multiple incident reports that had been lodged about a particular councillor.
Yes.
You then say the insinuation embedded in the email that I, as a councillor and a colleague and someone with professional expertise in working with people and communities affected by abuse, trauma and violence, of not caring, is to me offensive and at best defamatory at worst.
Yes.
You then seek particular advice about matters raised by the mayor in his emails.
Yes.
Then you say, I take complaints of workplace safety seriously. I make no judgment as to the validity of any complaint. And then you say, notwithstanding this is evident in the short life of this term of council, the tendency to regularly prosecute personal grievances on the chamber floor at constituted councillor briefings and social media. And then you say, I'm increasingly concerned as to the political weaponisation of work health and safety, which is reflected in the email councillors received and repeated through a social media post on Councillor McNaught's councillor page.
Yep.
And that was the one that I just took
Yes.
you to. And then if we can go to the next page. You say to single out particular councillors for the purpose of public shaming is itself an act of bullying. Such behaviours are not conducive to claims of a desire for councillors in this term to work cooperatively together. And then you say it's critical proper processes are observed, and in this instance, given the inference of councillor lack of care or concern to work health and safety, I reiterate the request of councillors on Thursday, the 20th of February, in response to Councillor Manoon openly raising work health and safety concerns with councillors, that a report be provided. And can you please advise if, as affirmed by Councillor Manoon, a confidential substantive report is in progress and will be provided to councillors? Yes. Can I just ask you about that? At some point from the meeting on the 20th up until the council meeting, was there a suggestion that there was going to be some kind of report provided about work health and safety concerns?
Yes, the meeting of the 20th, after Councillor Rostevsky had left, a further discussion occurred between councillors and the mayor, who raised the issue about WHS concerns, and that a safety report was in process of being prepared, and that's why I've asked for it. But
all right,
up until that point, we'd not been fully informed as to what those WHS issues were.
all right. The anticipated report,
Yes.
you hadn't received it by the date of the letter, the 28th of February?
No.
Had you ever received it?
No.
And I just want to take you back to the bottom of that of the first page, where you said, I'm increasingly concerned as the political weaponisation of work health and safety. What did you mean by that?
You can only go by context and past experience, and workplace health and safety had also been raised in the leading to the termination of Mr. Ajaka. And so I'm not sure, because I don't have any information, this is another example. So I don't know what's going on here.
Is it a matter of an event occurs and it then an issue of workplace health and safety is raised, but you're not being provided with the information about how a risk or some kind of hazard has arisen, the circumstances of it and how it's being dealt with?
Yes, yes, and the context of what it is.
And when you say the context of?
Well, the context of what the workplace health and safety issue is, rather than just saying workplace health and safety issue and you don't know. And so I'm only going on my previous experience with what happened with Mr. Ajaka.
Can you excuse me for a minute? I'm not in closed session at the moment, am I? That just hasn't. Excuse me. Commissioner, I understand that my learned friends just need to get some instructions on the matter. I did want to ask some very short questions about what occurred after Dr. Green sent her letter. If we could go into closed session about that, I anticipate it will be relatively short. And because of the result, I anticipate that a non-publication or the transcript can subsequently be made public.
Okay, so I've made a direction over the document currently on the screen. Do I need to do anything about the transcript of what's just occurred where portions have been read?
I don't, if we move into closed session now, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Everyone who's in the room can remain. Pursuant to Section 12B of the Royal Commissions Act, I direct the next passage of the hearing take place in private, that those who are currently in the hearing room can remain in the hearing room, and that the transcript of the private portion of the hearing not be published otherwise than in accordance with the usual correction. Thank you. Yes,
Thank
we've
you.
returned to public.
Could you bring up, please, INQ.070.001, sorry, 001.0001? Yes, please.
Accordingly, I declare Ned Burnett duly elected as Mayor for the Liverpool City Council for the ensuing term.
Hey everyone, it is finally done 3 weeks later, and we finally have the poll declared, and it's an honor to be back. And I want to thank you so much for your support and allowing myself and my team to come back. Here we are. I want to introduce you to your councillors. Councillor Fiona McNaught.
Hello, everybody.
Councillor Richard Amoon.
Hello, everyone.
And our two new councillors, Councillor Pastor AJ.
Hello, everyone.
And Councillor Matthew Hart.
G'day, everyone.
It's now official. Day one, we start today. We're going to be working hard on the plan that we said, and it's just so amazing with your support. You've sent a clear message to support our plan, and we cannot thank you enough for your kind words, for your support on the election day, and for everything you've been doing for us. And we look forward to working for you over the next 4 years and delivering an amazing Liverpool.
Councillor Ned Burnett is being returned Mayor of Liverpool.
And could we just bring up INQ.070.001.0002? Yes, thank you. Now that's the Facebook page of Liverpool City Council.
Yes.
And you can see there a photograph of the mayor and 4 other councillors.
Yep.
And then it's got mayor returned council and if you press the button, you saw the video that we just watched.
Sure.
In that, and just focusing on that, the councillors depicted were all representatives or members of the Liberal Party.
Yep.
And you watched the video through. Was it the mayor and the other Liberal councillors who were captured or depicted in that whole video?
Sure. Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
No independent councillors were depicted?
No.
I think I saw a flash of Councillor
Oh,
Hart.
that's Hart.
Very at one brief moment.
All right. And also no Labor councillors?
No.
All right. Excuse me for a minute. Could we go back into closed session, please? Of course, this raises complaint.
About what we've just seen or something else?
Yeah.
So, all right. Pursuant to Section 12B of the Royal Commissions Act, I direct the next passage of the hearing take place in private, that those who are currently in the hearing room can remain in the hearing room, and that the transcript of this private portion of the hearing not be published otherwise than in accordance with the usual direction. Yes, we've
Thank you.
returned to public.
Dr. Green, there was a matter that arose from some of the material we just looked at, but I think I can ask it in a way that it can be publicly streamed. In a document, you raised your concern about, along the lines of, we're a new council, we're starting afresh, but I'm still concerned about the organisational culture.
Yes.
And I think it's been described during this inquiry as it appears that that within Liverpool City Council, you had a council within a council.
Yes.
And from the correspondence I took you to, was it the case that that was underlining one of your concerns with raising that particular matter with the CEO?
Yes.
Since then, have you seen an improvement in how the council is operating? Has it kind of moved away from, in any way, from that council within a council?
I think it has.
Mm-hmm. In what way has that been demonstrated?
I think of the council meetings that I have attended, there's been opportunity where a mayoral minute is being tabled and we've had prior notice given. The relations between councillors, I think, has improved. And I think the acting CEO, now CEO has made concrete steps to ensure that all councillors have the same information.
Now, there are just a couple of other odds and ends that I want to ask you about. And I'll try and do it quickly and not have to take you to documentation, but if you need it, please tell me. But while you've been a councillor, a resolution was put forward to purchase 600 Cowpasture Road.
Yes.
That was, again, summarising very quickly, there was a motion for some due diligence to be undertaken in respect of it.
Yes.
And then ultimately a resolution came to council for that property to be purchased.
Yes.
And you voted against it.
Voted against it, yes.
Why did you vote against it?
Voted against it because there's an agency that is already located in that area, in that building, where it makes sense that that's where they are. And about selling a council asset, and again, not having that full conversation about.
Hold on, this.
I think you're at cross purposes.
Yes, I do apologise. I think
I've not understood.
No, that's okay.
it's my fault. I wasn't clear. I'm sorry. One of the matters I wanted to ask you about was the council buying a property, and the property is at 600 Cow Pasture Road.
Oh, sorry, I'm up in Hoxton Park.
No, that's
Sorry.
Look,
I had a momentary lapse.
We went into closed session, some matters were raised. Do you want to take a quick break, or are you okay?
I'm regrounded.
All right.
Sorry.
It's all right. It's no need to apologise.
Okay. 600 Cow Pasture Road.
Yes, I'm there.
The council bought it.
Yes.
And originally, and again, I'm shortcutting this, it was all to do with it being a depot.
Yes.
And then it morphed into depot recycling.
Yes.
Etc. When the resolution finally came to council saying, please resolve to buy this property, you voted against it?
I did.
Why did you vote against it?
I voted against it because based on the information from the consultant on the forward planning for Liverpool Council, it talks about depots across the LGA, and the recommendation was one to be established out at Austral, and in that way would be an efficient way for council to service across the LGA.
And there's a map before the inquiry, but it seems that you've got Rose Street Depot.
Yes.
And if we're moving out west, you then have Cow Pasture Road.
Yes.
Then moving out west, you've got the
Devonshire.
Devonshire.
Yes.
And then again, the impression from the map is you've got a larger section out west,
yes,
the west of the local government area,
yes,
that doesn't seem to have a depot or recycling or anything like that.
Yes.
So even though the purpose for the purchase of 600 Cow Pasture Road was originally depot and then moved into kind of depot recycling.
Yes.
Was it your view that, consistent with reports produced to council previously, you should have been looking at servicing that,
yes,
further west growth area?
Yes, it needed to be consistent with the accepted council document.
Now, could we bring up, please, INQ.001.001.1101? And this can be live streamed. That's the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the council held on the 26th of June.
Yes.
Would we please go through to page 9? Now, this is the meeting that considers the budget.
Yes.
And sorry, there you've got, yeah, towards the bottom, CFDO2. That's basically the motion about the budget,
Yes,
adoption of the budget.
yes.
And if we keep on going to the next page, I asked you about this earlier. You can see starting at point 5, those amendments or changes made from the floor of the council by the mayor.
Yes,
And if we keep on going, and I think there might be one by Councillor Moon as well. But if we keep on going, keep on going. And you'll see that Councillor Caliander had a declaration of interest as one of the properties mentioned in the budget houses the SES, and that led to her a conflict.
that's correct.
And then if you then look at the bottom on being put to the meeting, the motion was declared carried, but you voted against it.
I did.
Why did you vote against it?
As I understood it, the inclusion of particular properties, the projected surplus was predicated on the sales of those properties. And at that point didn't agree with the sale of those properties.
And were those properties 3 Hoxton Park Road?
And 33 Moore Street.
And after the budget was passed, at least a resolution came back for the sale of one of those properties, and you voted against that?
Yes.
Consistently with voting against the budget being passed.
Yes.
Predicated on that sale.
Yes.
Just another kind of random topic. Were you on the recruitment panel for the CEO, which finished in about April of this year?
Yes, I was.
And in the previous recruitment panel, where you decreased the numbers from all councillors to a select numbers, were you part of that as well?
Yes, I was.
So you've sat on 2 recruitment panels for the CEO?
In this term, yes.
Well, there would have been one in this term and then another one in the previous term.
Yes.
Okay. There's obviously a procedure whereby if you're a member of the panel and you perceive there to be some conflict of interest, whether pecuniary, non-pecuniary, etc., that has to be declared.
Yes.
What I wanted to ask you about, if the applicants have had some kind of prior association with a member of the recruitment panel, whether you're of the view that they should in some way declare or let known of that prior association.
I believe so.
And why?
I can only go on my experience in the women's health sector. Again, it's another specialised sector, so to speak. So it wouldn't be unusual for women to apply for a job that somebody may have known at some point. And as a matter of course, that was disclosed. And I figure that the local government sector has some similarities in it being a specialist sector. People move around from council to council. So I would expect, just as a practice of transparency, that if there's a conflict of interest on either side, that it would be declared and everybody on the panel would know.
Yes. And you've used the word transparency, so it doesn't necessitate that the person won't be appointed or anything like that.
Not at all.
It's rather being quite open and use the
Yes.
word transparent,
Yes.
that we've had this prior association with, for example, with you on
Yes.
the panel.
Yes.
I just wanted to ask you again broadly about Hammerville.
Yes.
Again, just trying to move through it quickly. But do you recall in the lead up to the last state election around March 2023, there was a joint announcement by the mayor and his wife, who was a candidate, I think, for Holsworthy,
Yes.
about an intention to build a swimming pool.
Yes.
And again, putting it broadly along the lines of if the Liberal Party is re-elected to Macquarie Street, there'll be some kind of grant or money coming from them, and that council would also contribute.
Yes.
Before, and there was, that was obviously picked up by the press.
Yes.
When did you become first aware of the announcement?
On that day, I subscribed to the Sydney Morning Herald. So when it popped up, oh, wow, this is interesting.
Had it been discussed before at council?
No.
Had you had any idea that it was going to be announced?
No.
The Hammerville Park, that also incorporates the Moorebank Sports Club.
Correct.
And there has been some debate and examination at council about the future of the Hammersville Park precinct.
In this term?
Yes. Oh, no, actually, probably in the previous term.
Previous term, I have no recollection of it coming up in the previous term, but I understand it had been discussed in other previous terms of council.
All right. Do you recall in 2023 that there was a draft Hammersville precinct master plan being developed, which the council was looking at and then going out for public consultation?
Is that the one that was 5 months after March?
Yes, I think so.
Yep, that's the one. Yep. Yes.
And also at the end of December 2023, there was a determination to sell 2 lots of land within Hammerville to the Moorebank Sports Club.
Yes.
Now, during that time, were you contacted by anybody from the Moorebank Sports Club?
Yes.
Who were you contacted by?
The CEO.
And what did he say to you? What did he want?
He contacted me by phone. He was wanting me to meet with him so he could explain. He could explain. I could understand the proposal from Sporty's perspective.
Did you meet with him?
No, I told him that that would not be possible, that the information that I receive on the project would come from council. He again said that it would be good for us to meet. I felt that it was, and I mentioned at the time, it sounded like one-on-one lobbying, which it was a slippery slope. I did not want to go down that line, and respectfully declined his offer.
And did you report or discuss with anybody within council that approach?
Yes, I called Mr. Farouk Patelli to report. I was bit shaken at the time. It had never happened to me before. It was took me off guard a bit, and explained to him what had happened, that I had felt that it was lobbying, and he said that he would get back to me. He would bring it up with General Counsel.
Did he ever get back to you?
No, I had a phone call from the director, Tina Bono, who said to me that to assure me that all processes were being applied, that it was not being, there was no fast tracking, that the proposal had to go through all processes of council.
You should excuse me. No further questions.
In answer to some of Councillor Assisting's questions, you expressed that you thought there'd been improvement in the functioning of the governing body in the current term compared to the last term. Did I understand you correctly?
In terms of of culture,
Yeah.
amongst, well, some councillors, not all.
Can you give me some examples of changes that we have seen in the way the governing body operated from the last term to the current term that you had in mind when answering those questions?
In terms of the improvement, would be more the heads up and sharing of information if a mayoral minute was coming up. Those kinds of things that make a difference, because it was better than being taken off guard and not having any idea what was going on.
So you've seen an improvement in that space in the current term?
In that space, and also in the social media, and how, you know, where everybody is acknowledged, or whether it be in social media or at events, and that's been a big difference.
And I take it they're positive developments from your point of view?
Yes.
And I take it that you'd be keen to see them continue through the current term? Absolutely. And sorry, you go.
Commissioner, coming from the women's sector, working cooperatively and collaboratively is something, that's what I've always done. So, you know, to be, you know, to have that same process in council, of course, when we're working collaboratively for the community, that's what we're there for. So that's my desire, that's the goal, to get there where we can work collaboratively and cooperatively together.
So whatever can be done to foster and continue that environment, I take you would support?
Absolutely. Where there's trust and respect amongst all councillors.
Yes, thank you. Any party seek to ask the councillor questions?
I do have some questions, but I need to ask for an indulgence just overnight so that I can get some instructions in respect of certain matters.
All right. Ms. Richardson, do you have any questions?
I'm taking instructions.
Thank you. Is there anything that we can do this afternoon or not?
Not from
without-
my perspective, Commissioner. I do apologise. I appreciate that's an inconvenience, but
Yeah.
there's been a number of matters that have arisen today.
All right.
Could I just raise one matter? Sorry, Commissioner, this is on the basis that you would allow my friend's indulgence and for Dr. Green to give evidence tomorrow. I'm just wondering whether it was possible she could give evidence by AVL instead of travelling all the way back in.
I don't have a problem with that as a concept. I just don't know anything about the technology as to whether that can be supported.
And also, I haven't just raised it with
All right.
the doctor.
I'll do what I did yesterday. I'll just disappear for 5 minutes and then you can have those discussions with the councillor and those assisting us with the technology to see what can be accommodated.
Thank you.
And if it makes sense to, I know it's hard without instructions, but do you have any sense of how long you think you might need?
Possibly half an hour.
All right. We can schedule that at 9:30 or 4 o'clock. Whatever. I'm flexible, subject to the demands of others. All right. Okay, I'll adjourn until.
Thanks, Commissioner. Dr. Green will come back tomorrow morning in person.
Okay,
She's left to catch the train home
very good.
and stated that it would be more convenient at 10 o'clock instead of in the afternoon or anything like that.
Okay,
So she'll be back here in person at 10.
yes.
Not finding my friend, but if it's about half an hour, then I think we'll move to Mr. Hull,
Councillor Hull, yep.
Councillor Hull. And then, of course, we've got Mr. Brett.
So we won't finish Councillor Hull tomorrow?
No.
Okay.
No.
We need to finish.
Yes.
Is that happening at 2 o'clock? Do we know?
Look, at the moment it's 2, but what we were hoping was that Mr. Boyle's matter may end early. So we were kind of flagging maybe 12 o'clock.
All right.
But I'm uncertain. I think Mr. Boyle will know whether it can be 12 o'clock tomorrow morning once he's got the
Probably
matter.
11:55 as
Yeah.
these things work out. All right. Well, as I've said on other occasions, if we need to adjust sitting times and breaks and things to make sure we get Mr. Breton finished tomorrow. Otherwise, 10 a.m. Anything else to do this afternoon?
No, thank you.
Mr. Parrish, the document that we discussed Tuesday, one I issued a summons for, and
Yes.
there's I think your phrase, hint of LPP about it, and you were
Yes.
considering it. Has there been any developments on that
We
from your
produced
side?
it.
Oh, okay, excellent.
We may in due course make there is part privilege, which we've redacted,
Okay,
and we've foreshadowed we may make a non-publication order over it.
yes.
Application, if it comes up, but it has been
No, thank you. All right.
redacted for.
Excellent. All right, 10 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you.